Hi, I'm Bodie, Stream Team volunteer. The Stream Team salmon stewards aren't here right now, but they'll return after the salmon come back to tell you more about salmon. The salmon will return around mid-August to mid-September after they journey up the Deschutes River to the Tumwater Falls hatchery.
Hi, what kind of salmon are these? Do you know how much they weigh?
Good question. Let's ask our Stream Team salmon steward.
Those are Chinook salmon. They weigh 15 pounds. They're also called king salmon, Tyee, or blackmouth, and they're the largest of the Pacific salmon.
Can you tell me where the salmon are coming from and where they're going to?
So these fish are anadromous. They've been out in the Pacific Ocean for 3 or 4 years, even as far as Alaska, eating, getting fat, getting big. Now it's time for them to lay their eggs, so they're coming home to spawn. They were actually born up in the Deschutes River watershed. So here we've got Puget Sound, Budd Inlet. We've got a bridge. They've got to go over a little ladder to get into Capitol Lake, swim up all the way to Tumwater Falls, up another fish ladder. Finally, they get up to the top of the falls, and there they are in a holding pond where someone takes their eggs, and then they enter a hatchery operation. So these fish were born in the Deschutes hatchery system about 3 or 4 years ago. And now, after swimming back down when they were about this big and out to Alaska and eating for 3 or 4 years, now they've come back to lay their eggs.
What does anadromous mean?
Anadromous, that word just means that when the fish are adults, they're out in the salt water. They're spending time in the ocean, as I said, as far away as Alaska, because there's lots of food out there, lots of krill for them to eat in the cold, salty water. And then they can gain weight, and when it's time to lay their eggs, they'll come back into the freshwater system. In this case, it's the Deschutes River. And that's where they lay their eggs or spawn. So that's what anadromous means.
Do all salmon die after they spawn?
Yep, they do die after spawning. All 5 of our Pacific salmon do that. It's because they've laid their eggs, they're exhausted. It's just part of the natural life cycle. It's time for them to die. There are 2 kind of salmon cousins that do not die after spawning. That would be the sea-run cutthroat trout and the steelhead. And they can actually go back out to the ocean for a couple years and then come back and lay eggs again. So, but that's an exception. Because like I said, our 5 salmon do die. But the carcasses, the dead carcasses, are actually tremendously valuable to the ecosystem because there are like 137 different species of animals, birds, mammals, even the aquatic insects that feed off of those dead carcasses. And the carcasses decompose and fertilize the forest floor. So they're really important to the health of the ecosystem.
How long does the salmon run last?
The Chinook salmon return here about the 3rd week of August and are here till the end of September. They're hatchery fish and they're returning to the Deschutes River. They're on the dam here. There's a fish ladder that they go through the 5th Avenue Dam. They go through Capitol Lake. They go through a series of fish ladders up the Deschutes River, and where they're captured at a fish hatchery at Tumwater Falls Park.
Are Pacific salmon in trouble, and what can I do to help?
Yes, they are in trouble, definitely. But there are a lot of things people can do to help. A big problem, of course, is pollution. So all of us can make sure that nothing toxic or bad ever goes down a storm drain, because all that rainwater that goes down the drain ends up in the streams in Puget Sound. So if there's oil from, drippy cars, or pesticides from lawns, or soap from car washing going down those storm drains, guess where they end up? And that's really bad for salmon. So we can all make sure that doesn't happen. Another really important thing for helping salmon habitat is to plant trees and shrubs all along the streams to provide the shade, to keep the water cold. That's one of the things that Stream Team volunteers do all the time. So that's another really important thing. And last of all, this might seem a little strange, but even if you don't live by a stream, but you plant native trees and shrubs in your yard, or maybe your schoolyard or your churchyard, you're helping salmon. And the reason is, by planting trees and shrubs on the land all over the watershed, we help stop the amount of rainwater that runs off into the storm drains, because it gets absorbed by the trees and the shrubs and the spongy soil in the forest floor, and you don't get all that runoff rushing into the streams. When you have too much water going into the streams in the wintertime, it's like a fire hose blasting out the habitat and covering the salmon gravels with mud. So every time you plant a tree, you're helping salmon. And there's one more thing we can all do. We can conserve water. A lot of people don't understand why conserving water around our homes could possibly help salmon, but think about where your water comes from. Every time you turn on the tap at home, you're sucking water out of our groundwater aquifers. That's how the city delivers our water. We pump it out of the ground. And those groundwater aquifers are connected to all the salmon streams. So in the summertime, when we're taking long showers and watering our lawns and washing lots of clothes, the aquifer is drawn down and the streams go down. So that's really an important reason for us to conserve water. And we can do it by taking shorter showers, stopping any leaks around our homes, installing water-efficient appliances. You don't have to water your grass in the summertime. Let it rest over the summer. There's a lot of things we can do to conserve water.
What are all those little fish that I'm seeing?
The fish that you're seeing today are three-spined stickleback, and like salmon, they spawn in fresh water.
If you're interested in learning more about salmon or becoming a volunteer for Stream Team, go to www.streamteam.info for more information. Oh my gosh, it's so good.